May 1945, Bavaria. The Third Reich was collapsing like a dying star, burning through its final moments. German General Friedrich Kessler stood on a quiet Bavarian road surrounded by the last survivors of his exhausted division. For years, he had lived inside a world of strict orders, rigid duty, and iron loyalty. But now, in the final hours of the war, he faced the most important decision of his life, one that would determine the fate of more than 2,000 civilians and soldiers trapped behind his lines. He didn't know it yet, but this single act, one moment of disobedience, would follow him across the Atlantic, land him in an American POW camp, and ultimately transform him from a loyal Nazi-era officer into one of the architects of modern democratic Germany. This is the story of a man who surrendered not only his weapons, but his entire belief system. By the spring of 1945, Europe was a graveyard of cities. Berlin was a ruin. The Eastern Front had turned into a massive flood of Soviet armor. The Western Allies pushed deeper and deeper into Germany. Yet Hitler insisted on one command, repeated endlessly through radio transmissions, propaganda leaflets, and secret SS orders. No surrender. Fight to the last bullet. Any officer who disobeyed was labeled a traitor. Many were executed on the spot. Some were hanged with signs reading, "I was too cowardly to resist." Inside this collapsing empire, German officers were trapped between two choices. Obey Hitler and doom their men, or defy him and risk execution by the SS. But the real danger wasn't only death, it was the moral reckoning waiting on the other side of the war. A reckoning many officers did not see coming. Kessler was one of them. Friedrich Kessler wasn't born a monster, nor a hero. He was born in Prussia, a land shaped by discipline, loyalty, and military tradition. From childhood, he was taught that a soldier's first duty was to obey. His father had served in World War I. His brothers joined the army. Kessler followed the same path, entering military school at 16. He rose through the ranks with speed and earned respect on multiple fronts. Poland, 1939. France, 1940. Russia, 1941 to 1943. He earned medals, including the Iron Cross. His soldiers trusted him. His superiors valued him. To Kessler, joining the army was not an act of ideology. It was tradition. He saw himself defending Germany, not serving the darker ambitions of the Nazi leadership. He fought battles, not politics. And that belief was about to be shattered forever. May 8, 1945, the final day of the war in Europe. Kessler stood beside his last remaining tanks as American infantry approached. The German lines were broken. The radio was silent. The Reich was gone. His men waited for orders. Fight? Flee? Die? Kessler looked at the young faces around him, boys who had never known a Germany without war. If he resisted, they would be slaughtered. If he obeyed Hitler's "no surrender" order, he would be condemning innocent lives. He made his decision. Kessler removed his pistol. Slowly, he placed it on the hood of his car where the Americans could see it. Then he raised his hands. This was the first time in his entire career that he had disobeyed a direct order. He expected an American bullet. Instead, the American captain walked up to him and said calmly, "General, gather your men. You're going across the Atlantic." Kessler had surrendered to save his division. He had no idea this surrender would become the beginning of something far greater. Kessler was transported to Fort Meade, Maryland, a sprawling POW facility filled with thousands of captured German officers. Many believed they would face torture, humiliation, or death. Instead, something unexpected happened. One morning, Kessler and nearly 200 German officers were marched into a dark theater. A projector hummed. The lights dimmed. And the truth appeared on screen. Not propaganda. Not rumors. Not enemy lies. Real footage. Railway cars packed with starving prisoners. Gas chambers disguised as showers. Children torn from their parents. Mass graves stretching to the horizon. Kessler felt his breathing stop. He had known the war was brutal. He had seen towns burned and soldiers die. But he had never imagined the scale of this horror. And for the first time, he felt guilt, not for losing the war, but for obeying a system that committed crimes in his name. His identity cracked. The proud Prussian general, the decorated officer, the disciplined soldier, all of it collapsed under the weight of the truth. He wrote that night. I defended the fatherland. But I now see I defended men who destroyed it. In the weeks that followed, the Americans didn't simply imprison the officers, they educated them. Classes were held on democracy, human rights, the U.S. Constitution, the crimes of the Nazi regime, the responsibility of a soldier in modern society. Some German officers rejected it. Some shouted that it was propaganda. Some broke down in tears. Kessler changed quietly. He attended every lecture. He read every document. He asked questions no one expected from a former German general. He wrote in his journal. A soldier must not obey a leader, he must obey the law. His transformation wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, painful, and deeply human. The war was over, but Kessler's internal battle had just begun. By 1947, the Allies faced a new challenge. Germany needed a military again. But a military that could never be used for tyranny. A military that would protect democracy instead of destroying it. American officials remembered Kessler. Disciplined. Intelligent. Honest. And most important, changed. They brought him into confidential discussions about forming the new Bundeswehr, the modern German armed forces. Kessler proposed something revolutionary. The citizen in uniform. A soldier who is bound to the Constitution. Trained to think morally. Allowed, even required, to refuse illegal orders. A guardian of democracy, not a servant of a dictator. This idea became one of the foundational principles of the new German military. Years later, young officers would meet the aging Kessler and thank him personally. They served in a force built not on blind obedience, but on ethical responsibility. Kessler realized that his greatest act was not a battle he fought, but the moment he put his pistol down. His surrender didn't end his service. It began his redemption. War is full of destruction, hatred, and loss. But hidden within dark history are stories like this, stories that remind us that even one moment of conscience can reshape the future of a nation. Kessler was not perfect. He was not innocent. But he chose morality when it mattered most. And because of that, millions of people grew up in a Germany where soldiers protect freedom instead of fear it. If you want more powerful, forgotten stories from history, tales of courage, redemption, and the human spirit, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps keep these stories alive.